The heavens are telling of the glory of God. Look up and seek His wisdom from above.
How far off into the future can you prophesy? I'm not talking about beating the odds on a 50-50 proposition. You have a 50-50 chance of predicting the outcome of the next presidential election, Republican or Democrat. At this filming, that's a little ways off. No, this is more like shooting at ducks before they've ever been born. There's no way of knowing where they're going to be. You just shoot. In our last video, which was part 3, we saw how Daniel did exactly that with the coming of God's kingdom. Now let's add 4 more prophecies to that. Let's begin with where the Messiah would be born. Over 700 years before Jesus was born, Micah prophesied, "But you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, though you are little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of you shall come forth to me the one to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth are from of old, from everlasting." Micah chapter 5 and verse 2. Bethlehem Ephrathah was the ancestral home of David's family, so that might not seem like a big surprise of a prophecy. And yet, Jerusalem was known as the city of David. Also, it was where all of David's reigning descendants were born and lived all the way down to the time of Micah and beyond. As you know, Jesus was born in the little town of Bethlehem, and that's Bethlehem Ephrathah, Bethlehem of Judea, Matthew chapter 2 and verse 1. Well, the second prophecy is what would be the position of the Messiah? It would be that of a lawgiver. In Isaiah chapter 42 and verse 4, "He will not fail nor be discouraged till he has established justice in the earth, and the coastlands shall wait for his law." But this is a problem. You see, the Jews already had a law, and it was given to them by their great lawgiver, Moses. And yet Jesus did come and nail Moses' law to the cross and then establish his law by the Spirit. I've given you a few passages down here at the bottom of the screen so that you can verify that. This is just as Paul said to the Galatians in Galatians 6:2, "Bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ." Another important prophecy was that he would be a prophet. That doesn't seem to be a surprise because David was also considered a prophet. We told that in Acts chapter 2 and verse 30. However, none of David's descendants were ever called prophets. In addition, he would be a king and a priest at the same time. Now, this fourth prophecy for the knowledgeable Bible student really seems to be an impossible feat, because priests could only be taken from the tribe of Levi. We find that the Messiah could only come from the tribe of Judah because he had to be a descendant of David. So Jesus, being a descendant of David, could be king, but he couldn't be priest. But now look at this prophecy from Zechariah chapter 6, verses 12 and 13. "Then say to him, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Behold, a man whose name is Branch, for he will branch out from where he is, and he will build the temple of the Lord. Yes, it is he who will build the temple of the Lord, and he who will bear the honor and sit and rule on his throne. Thus he will be a priest on his throne, and the council of peace will be between the 2 offices." He will be a priest on his throne means that he would be a priest and a king. However, the same man cannot be a king and a priest. This prophecy seems impossible and makes it wholly unreasonable for Zechariah to have ever presented it. But the solution is found in what the Lord had planned for the Messiah's kingdom. You see, Jesus, as the son of David, could rule as king because he was from Judah. However, he would exercise his office in heaven as high priest and king. We read this in Hebrews chapter 8, verses 4 and 5. "Now, if he were on earth, he would not be a priest at all, since there are those who offer the gifts according to the law, who serve a copy and shadow of the heavenly things." The Jews wanted a military genius who would rescue them from their enemies. What they got was a man intent on going to a gruesome, torturous death. Well, that's where I'm going to continue our next study, which will be part 5 of this series. I hope you'll join me as I look at a few of the crazy twists and turns of prophecy about Christ's crucifixion.